Don't wear white. It doesn't suit you. Don't go out in the sun too much. You'll get even darker. You have such nice features. It's so unfortunate that you're so dark. Hi everyone, my name is Sanjana Rajesh, and those are just a few of the comments that I grew up hearing pretty much every day. I'm Indian, and there's so many things that I love about being Indian. The people, the culture, the traditions, the food, and so much more. I've always felt proud to identify as an Indian American, especially because I grew up in such a large and diverse place such as the Bay Area. But as great as being Indian is, everything has its flaws. And being Indian meant dealing with some of its outdated and biased standards of beauty. It was always the small things. People only referring to the light-skinned Indian actresses as the pretty ones. Or my relatives constantly updating me on the newest skin lightening and bleaching products on the market. Or even just random people telling me that certain clothes or makeup made me look darker. These comments were always played off as concern for my well-being. And for the longest time, I believed it. I believed that my well-being solely relied on this unattainable lighter version of me. And it wasn't just me. According to a study conducted from 2013 to 2016, 70% of the Indians surveyed reported wanting to date someone or have a partner with lighter skin. This is what pushes so many Indians to want to lighten their skin, creating a phenomenon termed the Bleaching Syndrome. A 2014 marketing study showed that 90% of Indian girls cite skin lightening as a high need. And with that, it's no surprise that the market growth rate for fairness products in India increases by 15 to 20% each year. And all this goes to show is that lighter skin often makes acceptance more likely, and even more so for women. But no one wants to acknowledge this issue, speak about it openly, or accept it publicly. Because doing so would mean accepting that you are dark, which for many Indian girls is their worst nightmare. This is an issue that affects not only the Indian community, but many other ones as well, and is officially known as colorism. Colorism, a form of racial discrimination based on the shade of an individual's skin tone, typically favoring lighter skin. Because of colorism and this constant insinuation throughout my childhood that my dark skin was unattractive, being dark became my biggest insecurity. But unfortunately, it didn't just end there. Because I perceived my darkness as one of my shortcomings, any other insecurity I had was amplified. Every time I would gain a couple pounds, I would think about it at least 1 million times every day. Because for me, it wasn't just about gaining weight. It was about the fact that there was now another reason why people could perceive me as unattractive. This was only perpetuated when I'd hear comments from guys saying things like, "Damn, she's hot, but kinda dark, dude." Or even just straight up, "Yeah, I'm not really into dark-skinned girls." Hearing these kinds of comments made me believe that I would be lucky to find a guy who liked me. And even if he did, it would be despite my dark skin tone. Needless to say, my amplified insecurities have had both an emotional and psychological toll on me. I've been through depression, and this stemmed from the fact that my desire to be successful wasn't just to be successful, but it was to compensate for my darkness. And even when I was successful, it didn't matter, because at the end of the day, I was still dark and nothing had changed. I've also had eating disorders, such as bulimia, and the most saddening thing about that is that I know that if the prejudice against my darker skin didn't exist, then those couple of extra pounds would not have affected me to the extent to which they did. Colorism transformed some of my typical teenage girl insecurities into a sickening narrative that consumed my life. Colorism has only recently even become a social issue, with the term originating around the 1980s. Compare this to social issues such as racism and sexism, issues that we have deemed some of the most pressing problems in the world today. And I agree, these problems are definitely important. However, as a society, we often tend to place so much of an emphasis on these systemic problems that we often overlook supposedly smaller issues, such as colorism, which I could argue affects people just as much, if not even more. As a woman of color, I've been subject to both racism and sexism. But when someone says something sexist to me, I know that I am in that fight with every other woman. When someone says something racist to me, I know that I have all the people of color behind me to back me up. Because when you're part of a large group, you feel powerful and supported, and that gives you the strength to fight anything that comes at your way. But when someone says something colorist to me, it affects me in a different way. It hurts more, because it makes me realize that I'm part of an even smaller group. It alienates me, and it's so much harder for me to get over. Now, don't get me wrong, just because I'm giving this talk doesn't mean I've gotten over my insecurities. Every now and then, someone will say something that'll trigger me and make me think of myself in a negative manner once again. But what I can tell you is that it's definitely gotten better. Coming to a college so large, progressive, and welcoming, such as UCSB, has made me so much more confident in myself. Seeing so many dark-skinned women here and in the media recently succeed has made me realize that my trait does not define me, and rather should be something that I embrace. The support I've gotten here has been like no other. From even just my roommates and my best friends here telling me I'm pretty, I've come to understand that not only can dark skin be beautiful, but that dark skin is beautiful. It's also made me realize that there's so many things that we can all do to combat colorism. Follow and support social media movements, such as #UnfairAndLovely and pages such as Tinted, where they showcase women of color for their beauty and talent. Refrain from making crude jokes about this subject, and instead, tell every woman in your life that they're beautiful. But most importantly, just be aware. Be aware of what colorism is, be aware of who it affects, and the extent to which it does. Make the people affected by colorism feel like they're in fact part of a huge group, and allow them to use that strength and interdependence to fight anything that comes out their way. Like I said in the beginning, I love being Indian. And I've always believed that as a brown girl, I was the right color, just someone who got stuck being the wrong shade. But I have no doubt that by offering support and spreading awareness, we can make everyone believe that they're not just the right color, but also the right shade. Thank you.